Yo, this is Harmony H. Money Samuels, and you know I got soul.
Absolutely. Let's get started. Let's talk about that Robin Thicke record, because Harmony, when I first heard that song, what I love about R&B is the live instrumentation, just how smooth it is, how good Robin sounds on the record. Just talk about how that one came together for you guys.
I mean, Robin Thicke is a musical genius, and his experience in the music business and just in as a musician is just second to none. That man is a musical. He embodies music, and when we were working with him, I think it was a match made in heaven because we had the same countenance, and me and the team we're exactly the same way, and so when he saw us all picking up instruments and playing, it just excited him, and I started playing a groove. We actually had this string patch, and I started playing this groove on the bass guitar, and Robin jumps on those keys, and my boy co-producer JV's on the guitar, and before you know it, we got this beautiful ambience of music, that's pretty much how it came across, and one thing, it feels like a live band because it somewhat is. If you think about it, it is. We just modernized it to make sure that it fit with today's music scene, but we wanted to capture the essence of the 70s and the 80s with the live instrumentation, and Robin's a soul man. That's a real soul man. So Robin wants to hear those instruments go. He wants to hear that guitar and bass, evolve with him. So yeah, that's how that came about.
Right. And like I said, Harmony, we've been following you throughout the years, and you've really made great strides in your career. I mean, you already started off pretty big, but you've continued to push. And like when you work with an artist like Robin Thicke, because you do have a lot to your under your resume now, and Robin does as well, how does that collaboration process work? Because I mean, you could easily overtake the studio and say, hey, listen, I'm the hit producer, and Robin could do the same. But just watching those videos that Robin posted, it looks like you guys really just worked together on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I'm telling you, a match made in heaven. It was just like the perfect marriage. His energy and mine are just like similar in the sense of that we just love music. It's not about the plaques on the wall or about, we didn't even ask each other about, what we were working on, everything. We just went straight to the music. It's crazy because, it wasn't about, what have you done and who have you been working with. Like, it was straight music. He wanted to hear some of the music that we'd worked on. I wanted to hear some of his, which was incredible. And he was like, yeah, you get it. And funny enough, 10 years ago when I was discovered by Roddy Jerkins and I was working at the Roddy Jerkins studio, I met him then. He was working with Roddy at the time, and I always said, I can't wait to work with him one day. And that day came. I remember telling him, he was like, man, I remember that studio. But no, it's incredible. And we have such an amazing relationship. He was, when he was finishing the record off, he made changes and tweaks just to make it better. Like because he's overworked, like he will sit down with it and be like, I can make it better. That's probably why it sounds so perfect, because he spends so much time. And so he FaceTimed me one time. One of the sessions he FaceTimed, it was like, I think 11 o'clock, 11:30. I was about to head home, and he FaceTimed me from his studio in Malibu, and he was just like in his house coat, like, yo, man, I think we should make some changes. Can you pull up the session? I was about to leave, but all right, cool, let's go. And, he's like, yeah, let's add them chords there, and yeah, let's put a bass lick here. And he was, on FaceTime. I'm like, dude, it's 11:30 at night. You want to go right now? And yeah, we went on till like 2 a.m. But we have fun. He's a bundle of joy, and he loves his family, and working with him is definitely inspirational. And we've got so many records more, so many more records to come too. So I'm excited about that, definitely.
Nice. Now, another artist that you've been working heavily with is the Bonfyre. And initially, when I first heard her record, I think it was When You're Ready to Love, it sort of had that sound that you and Ariana Grande had started together with that throwback R&B vibe. But now we're at that point, like the record with Black, that's completely different than some of that early stuff. Just talk about building her up and her sound.
Yeah, I guess, we wanted a subtle, we didn't know what was going to happen with Bonfyre when we made that first EP. We wanted to have a mixture, because the EP has a mixture of different things. And Ready to Love was one of the popular ones. Automatic ended up being the number one record. And so we kind of figured out, okay, this is her initial audience. This is the audience we're starting with, because that's, and now You Say was like, okay, the record that is really going to make people pay attention to who she was. And the feature with Black was perfect. Perfect marriage, between two young, millennial artists, Black with his, rap with his singing rap, and, Bonfyre, coming with her soulful vibe. And we just wanted to kind of mix both worlds, that still the R&B, still some of that throwback in it, but, we definitely went for more of a futuristic sound with it. And with You Say, it's such a powerful song. The message behind it, I think it was so relatable across boards between male and female. Bonnie I call her Bonnie.
Right.
Bonfyre is just, she always said she wanted to talk about, the relationship she never talked about. You know what I mean? And I think You Say was one of those songs that touched on issues and things that she had experienced, and a lot of us have experienced in our lives too. So it's just amazing to see the reaction to it, and I think we're going to see a lot of Bonfyre because of this song. And the album is sounding incredible right now. We're right in the middle of it, and she got some real strong records coming.
Right. Now, let's talk about that EP that came out last year. And when I talked to Bonfyre about it, I told her what I loved most about it was just the samples that she chose. They were cleverly picked. But, and the one thing I love about you, even though you picked samples that we were familiar with, you still made it fresh and you still made it current. Like, what's the key to that?
I think the key is to appreciate the sample and to appreciate where the original record, but to also open your mind to what else could come from it. One of the reasons why is, and I like mixing both, because I think, especially when you've got a generation that doesn't know, I like to educate the generation. My younger goddaughters and cousins and nieces and nephews, when they're playing their records to me, I laugh, because I'm like, let me show you where that came from. And just to see, they're like, oh, the education is priceless. But I love watching both different generations, or even like the older generation. When we did Ariana Grande The Way, there was 3 generations involved. There was, Ari's generation, my generation from the Big Pun, and then Brenda Russell, which was in the early 80s, late 70s. And, there's 3 generations that connected to the Ariana Grande record immediately just because of that break. And Kanye West does a great job of doing that. And it kind of brings a lot of age differences together, cultures together, and generations together. And I love it. I think it's one of the dopest things to do.
Right, absolutely. Now, tell me a little bit about this new Bonfyre project. Like, is the sound more aligned with, Keeps Me Waiting and Ready to Love, or is it more along the lines of You Say? Like, what's the balance there?
I think we're going kind of like not so much Ready to Love. I think Ready to Love may be a bit too pop for her. I think she was more on the dark side this time. I think we're going more on the dark side, even though she got love songs. Definitely a few groove up tempos are gonna be in there. Like, she definitely wants to talk about up tempos, but it's definitely, the sound's definitely a little darker, a little bit more mature, a little bit more heavy on the drums, and definitely some great collaborations coming. Definitely some eclectic collaborations coming, because Bonnie's an interesting one. She can kind of blend between, you know, the old and young. You know, she's on tour with Tank, Fantasia, and Robin Thicke, but she also is in tune with Lucky Day and Black and her and that circle. So she's got an interesting trajectory, and her music kind of works on both ends of the spectrum. So I'm very excited for her, and I'm very interested to hear what people say about this album. The one thing I love is that she's got great songs, like, you know, like when you hear, like, I can sing along to this type vibe. So that's the one thing I love about her. She's definitely telling her story.
Right. Now, let's talk about you for a second. You've had an opportunity to kind of be the startup to a lot of careers. Ariana Grande's debut, you produced the majority of that. You kind of gave her that initial sound. Here you are with Bonfyre, giving her initial sound. Of course, you have your artist Major. You know, what's the joy in that? Is that exciting to you?
It's always exciting because it's that risk. It's betting on yourself. You know, it's betting on your music. It's betting on your talent. You're betting on yourself, and you're betting on the talent that you choose. You're betting on your team. That risk factor is what's it for me. The unknown, you know, the wild card that no one's paying attention to. You know, I did with Ariana Grande. I remember one executive called me and said, "You messed up my whole schedule." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I have to pull my female artist down because this Ariana Grande has literally changed the face of pop music." And I was like, you know what I'm saying? Major, the same thing. You know, Major came out, no one saw him coming with this huge ballad called "Why I Love You." Changed, you know, the trajectory of music. And then even with Bonfyre, you know, I think no one expected her to kind of hold that space. And it kind of confused some people, like, yo, who is that? Like, where did she come from? I love doing it because I think it keeps the ground fresh. It keeps the game open. And I love creating opportunity for those who haven't had the opportunity. I think that's one of the most important things. You know, someone like Berry Gordy, when he had Motown, they were just creating hits for people who no one knew. And then they became colossal superstars. So that's really the goal, you know, really opening the doors for people who might not have it. Right.
Well, Harmony, let me ask you. This is a two-part question, but let's ask you first. You know, a lot of producers, like we've spoken many years ago, and you've kind of elevated yourself to one of the top R&B producers. I'll put that out there right now. What keeps you motivated to continue? Because and I guess first of all, like, just talk about from your perspective the evolution of R&B from when you first started, you know, in the late 2000s, early 2010s till now. Like, what have you seen as the evolving process of R&B?
I think the evolving process of R&B is that, you know, we're seeing so many beautiful artists come to life. You know, we're seeing so many different cultural acts really come to life, and you know, soul music and R&B music is really kind of given a new space for, you know, new. And I think, like, we were one of the first ones to really on this side of time, when it, you know, 2014, 15, even 12 and 13, you know, people were telling me R&B was dead. Like, no one listened to R&B no more. And, you know, we were advocates for it. We stuck by it. And, you know, we gave birth to Ariana Grande. And now we look forward. We have hers and LMAs and, you know, Sabrina Claudio's and so many more R&B acts. I think it's gonna go really mainstream in very, very soon. And we are still evolving with it because there's still so much space and growth and opportunity with R&B. And then, you know, what happens with R&B, as always, it grows, it becomes mainstream, and then, you know, it starts to turn into pop, and then pop kind of changes again. So that's kind of where we are with it. And, I really believe that the thing that's happening right now is just the opportunity that's being created for new acts to have an opportunity, to have a chance. We may get a new Usher, Chris Brown, Beyonce, Rihanna, who knows?
Right.
I think it's creating the floor for the new. Hey, we didn't have an LMA 4 years ago, and now,
right.
She's one of the biggest R&B stars in the world, and counting. So, I think it's the future of music. Also, being involved with the Afrobeat side of things as well. Blending that type of genre. We did this young guy called Rotimi's single called Love Rhythm. That's doing really well too right now. So watching R&B and Afrobeats collide too is also another exciting factor that we're watching with. I feel like it's going to grow into something too. I'm just really excited about where soul R&B music is going and how it's going to, become. I think it's going to become the new language for pop music for this generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And Harmony, I got to ask you, because I'm looking at your resume, and you've pretty much been nonstop since you first, started producing over in the U.S. and I'll tell you, I'll give you a perspective as a listener, as R&B has changed from the sound of it to even the structure, songs being 2 minutes, no bridges. It's kind of discouraging for me as a consumer, but, how does it work for you as a producer? Because you could easily look back and be like, oh, this is not what it was like in the 90s. I don't like it. But you've continued to push.
I mean, you got to evolve when it's time to evolve. You got to evolve when it's time to evolve. You have to evolve. I used to complain as well. I was like, this isn't R&B. This is bull crap. And then Timberland said it to me. He was like, hey, man, you have to evolve with music. You can't really fight because, these kids, they're the future. So you have to listen, pay attention, evolve with it, and then improve it. Learn what's going on and improve it. And yes, songs are 2 minutes long right now, but in the Motown days, songs were 2 minutes long. Like some of those the greatest songs that came from Motown were 2.5 minutes long. So for me, I was like, history's just repeating itself. We just have to improve. We have 2.5 minutes to make better records, and that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make better records in the 2.5 to 40-minute records that we're gonna do absolutely everything to make a great song in those 2.5 minutes, and that's what we've been doing. And people are just blown away, and it's actually interesting in streaming language for people who stream. It's actually better for a song to be 2.5 minutes long because that you keep a person listening. Some songs, when they're too long, you don't want to listen to that song again because you got to go through 4 minutes of it. So I noticed that I can listen to a song 30 times in a row because it's short.
Right.
So
absolutely.
I think for streaming purposes, and since now streaming is the new way for music, it actually makes musical and mathematical sense. So yeah, the new songs that's coming out from us, all I can say is, they're no longer than 3 minutes, but they're some of the dopest 3 minutes you're going to get. With bridges and changes and, you know what I mean? People are like, woo, that was only 2.5 minutes. I feel like I was on a journey.
Right.
You just have to evolve your mind and like I said, when some things you just can't change, some things you just have to adjust with.
Right. Well, with that said, then how do you determine what's good and what's bad? If it's, if we're looking at today's music and we have to evolve with it, how do you kind of filter out what's good from the bad? Because, there's different standards, but how do you decide what's actually good in 2 minutes?
I mean, it's crazy, but like for instance, "Why I Love You" was one of the was a ballad that I just noticed that everybody every time I played it, from 5-year-old children to 50-year-olds, were just like, you can like, it's weird, like everybody draws to it. You know what I mean? Something
Right.
really good everybody draws to. And even songs that I don't like. There's songs in the charts that I necessarily don't like, but as a music maker, I understand why the public likes the song. I understand what it is about that song that draws people to it. So, pop music is what the majority likes, is really what it means. And I feel like, there's no real way to know what's really good and what's not. I just know that if it feels good to me, my emotions feel good about it and strongly about it, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be right. Because someone else is going to feel what I feel.
Fair enough. And finally, Harmony, just to wrap things up, who are you currently working with in the studio? You mentioned Bonfyre, Major being another one. You have a couple on Robin.
Yeah, we got more with Robin, with Bonfyre. We got Janet Jackson, which is amazing. Working on her, I worked on her last single with Daddy Yankee, Made for Now. I'm working on her project right now. We're also working with Drum. Drum is amazing. Working with 2 Chainz, with his new artist and group called, with this kid called Schoolie. So 2 Chainz is in there, and I mean we're working with everybody, anybody and everybody right now. It's just an interesting, lucky day too, working with him. We're just touching everything that we can because it's a great time in music. I believe that music's about to evolve into a whole nother space. And we're going to see some great superstars come for the future.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited about your work with Lucky Day because him and D-Mile have created such a musical sound, and I know you can add to that. Well, with your musicality.
Yeah, I've known Lucky a long time. We worked together years behind the scenes when we were writing with Chris Brown and Leo and everybody else. I met him through Rodney Jerkins, and I've known D-Mile. We both were signed to Rodney Jerkins when I first got here too. So that's my boy. His studio's up the street from me, and we talk all the time. And I'm so happy that his music touched the world the way it is, because he used to play me the Lucky Day album, and I'd be like, "Whew, this is about to be incredible." And it was like a year before it even came out. So to see the impact is just mesmerizing. And, I'm working on my label, currently working on my label. Like I said, it's like, my own little mini Motown. We have my artist Major, who's the first artist we put out. And we signed some new acts. I'm not going to go too much into it, but we've got some new acts, and we're really excited about 2020 for all the artists that we're working with, because we believe that they're going to definitely play a role in the music business for sure.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned you work with Janet. Can you just talk about some of the records that you guys are working on, or what we can expect in terms of the sound?
Janet right now is, she's evolving into this iconic legend,
Right.
And, we're just matching that iconic legend with the music. Made for Now was, a universal record that worked across the world, not just America, but literally worked in multiple countries at the same time. And we're going to continue that, universal walk. And her collaborations, I know there's Bruno's been on the table. I know SZA's also been on the table to have a collab with, and I know that she got a few other collaborations coming real soon. So we're excited about that. But right now, our significant, our main thing that we're working on is her as the artist, her songs, and it's not easy working with Janet because she's so colossal and she's so iconic and she's so genreless. She touches all genres. You can go from R&B to pop. You can go from pop to rock, and she could fit in it because it's all Janet. So we're trying to make sure those pieces all work hand in hand in tandem and make sense.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that, man. Harmony, just to wrap things up, man, I just want to say super proud of everything you've done, super proud of everything that you've got going on now. You honestly, you're you know, we talk about it all the time. You're probably one of our favorite producers that's still doing it. So much props to you for that. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, just thank you. You got soul for always supporting me and believing in me. Thank you, bro, for, you know, keeping an eye out and just it's these interviews that make me excited and keep us going and keep us believing that we can do greater stuff in the music industry. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody.